Happy Friday, Miami. This is Buy, Sell, Hold, a real estate podcast. Daniel Hernandez, my co-host, he's a real estate professional over at Compass Real Estate. His office is over in Coconut Grove. He does single-family houses, and he does condos. I'm Peter Zalewski. I'm a condo consultant. I'm also the founder of the Miami Condo Investing Club. Daniel, you're gonna basically be the moderator, so let me pass the baton over to you while I stumble through my words.
What is up, Peter? You're not stumbling through your words. Have you had that bad of a week? Come on. You were bullish last week, and the weather is beautiful.
Well, I haven't enjoyed any of it. I pulled a college all-nighter last night. I was up till 4 a.m. working on a project. Why? Because we're at the end of October. Once we go to November, in my world, that becomes the winter buying season. So I'm trying to get everything done because once November 1st comes, I don't look back. I fasten that seatbelt and I hold on because I think it's going to be a very busy winter. So just grinding my way through till November the 1st.
I thought you just launched another podcast. You're doing another podcast now, aren't you? Condo Capitalism?
I'm going to be doing 5 podcasts, one every week. Because
I don't feel that special anymore, Pete.
Well, what I'm doing is I pull the data, and once I pull the data, then I analyze it. Then I go ahead and I write it. And some of the people in the club, this is all great, but the reports are so extensive. We would much prefer your analysis of them. So what I'm doing now is I'm transitioning from the writing, and I'm going to start to discuss them every day. So I'm going to pull data in the morning, I'm going to analyze in the afternoon, and I'm going to go live in the late afternoon, basically with the latest findings. So it's actually real-time market-moving data. At least I like to think so.
And this is all available, and shameless plug for Peter, this is all available miamicondo.club, your Substack, right?
Correct. Yeah, I provide about 20% to 40% of the information available for free, but all the stats and stuff are all kind of behind a paywall. I'm one of these nerds when it comes to condo statistics. I've been looking at them since 1993. Not to date myself. When I got here, I was 2. So I've been going through the stats, and I got a massive database. And now, Daniel, what's interesting is I'm looking at creating, I think they call it a RAG, something with AI, some kind of massive database. So I'm taking all of this data I collected over the course of 20-something years, putting it into a database, secluding it from the rest of Google, and then we'll be able to basically type in some keywords, and I will be like the Wizard of Oz. Although I like to think better looking than the Wizard of Oz. If anybody remembers the Wizard of Oz show or movie.
I couldn't tell you what he looked like. But with that, I'm going to introduce the show, if that's okay with you.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Well, folks, this is episode 24. Happy Halloween, spooky. Hope you're not egging houses today. Don't do that. I never did that. Ever. Peter.
I did.
Yeah, I thought so. Peter in his younger years, certainly. But it is Halloween. It's October 31st, 2025. If you've never joined us before, this is Buy, Sell, Hold Miami. Down there in the bottom left, you're going to see what we call the rundown. Peter and I throw stories back and forth throughout the week. Some of you loyal listeners ask us for some stories, and we endeavor to include them because that's what we do. We're loyal to you guys because you're our early loyalists, right? So
adopters, early adopters.
There you go. Peter's such a tech nerd with the AI. But we got 5 topics today, and at the end of each topic, we're either going to buy, sell, or hold because, we don't always have all the data, but we try to get as much of it as we can. So to jump right into it, Peter, aren't property taxes worse?
Listen, this country does not like socialism. They don't want any handouts, but yet they give handouts by putting in place a homestead exemption, which gives a preferential treatment to somebody who actually lives in Florida and penalizes those people who don't.
Well, I'm a homeowner. I have a homestead exemption. I love my homestead exemption. I know Peter's a renter this decade. I know you've owned stuff in the past, but I don't mind paying my property taxes because I understand that this is how our municipalities, our state gets funded because we are so blessed to not pay income taxes. It's got to come from somewhere. We're not gonna pay 12% sales tax. We've been through this. And there was an article you sent over to me that talked about some of the city services we might see disappear if we see these property taxes disappear, right?
That's right. So
tell us.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to go into a rant. You do the article first, and then I'm going to get mad.
Okay. So give people the big picture. Generally speaking, in my opinion, simplified, when you pay your property taxes every year, a third gets peeled off for the school board, a third gets peeled off for the county, and a third gets peeled off for the city in which you live. And that is a primary funder of the coffers. So the different entities can go ahead and spend money and do what's necessary to sort of keep this society going. Well, there's a movement coming out of Tallahassee being led by outgoing Governor Ron DeSantis, who some would say is a lame duck right now because he can't get reelected. So there's a movement basically put on the ballot next year, a referendum that would eliminate property taxes. So if you look at the average condo price, let's ballpark it at $600,000, and you say 2% property tax, you're looking at 12 G's a year or $1,000 a month as part of your burn. And what Governor DeSantis wants to do and what the movement is towards and what the momentum they're trying to build is to eliminate that property tax only for those people who are homesteaded. So Daniel would be someone like you who gets to claim this homestead exemption. And because of the homestead exemption, they get some kind of preferential treatment in that their value of that 2% property tax, it's going to be capped. It's only going to grow up grow
3%
incrementally. Yeah, or inflation, but whichever's lower. So we all know right now inflation's coming in at 3%. So it's basically a push. But during the pandemic, it was 9.1%. So just think about that savings. So we have the certain sector of Florida that is a primary user, and they basically are getting subsidized or paying a lower tax. And who's subsidizing? It's all the out-of-towners, the second home buyers, and everybody else who's coming in. So the movement, again, is to try to benefit the primary user who owns, penalize the renter, which is what I am, and basically have everybody else pay to give an easier ride for homesteaders like Daniel. Now, I'm not criticizing Daniel. I'm just saying those are the rules.
I'm happy to pay my property taxes. And by the way, if you don't have it homesteaded, the cap is 10. So they can reappraise your property taxably. They can reappraise it and up that taxable value by up to 10% a year. So in boom times like during the pandemic for the last 4 years, I think virtually every property in any desirable neighborhood have just gone up 10%, 10%, 10%, 10%. It's a lot. So
and something to consider before I kind of bring us to the where we are today. During a great recession because of valuations, the city of Miami's credit rating on Wall Street was junk bond. Why? Because prices were coming down, and all of the analysts were saying, okay, well, based on revenue coming from property tax, you got less money coming in, because if you had a condo for $600,000 that was suddenly trading for $200,000, that's a big freaking hit. Now, it doesn't hit immediately. It tends to be staggered, so probably 2 years behind or so, generally speaking. But you can see what the economic impact of this is. And you also have to factor in that many of the infrastructure projects that we do, whether you're building a tunnel, whether you're building a spider bridge, or what do we call it, the signature bridge or the fountain bridge?
The fountain.
Yeah, well, a lot of things. I don't know that the bridge is, but let's just say a lot of things are funded by property taxes. Now, you suddenly eliminate property tax. What is the funding source for all of these bonds that are out there?
Well, according to the mayoral candidate Emilio Gonzalez, he'll come out and tell you that homesteaded, those homesteaded properties only make up something like 10% of the budget, which I've found data to refute. Actually, closer to like 14%. He wasn't too far off. But what irked me isn't that he got the number wrong, is that he brushed off the importance of property taxes like, we don't really need it. And we do. And we're going to show you now because of the wonderful things he does. Damn, you got the Wizard of Oz stuck in my
Wizard of Oz. Where's Dorothy?
Why are we looking at Julia? There we go. So property taxes here in the city, and this is City of Miami. And I brought up City of Miami because we have the elections coming up and because the numbers are just smaller. We're not talking about the county. But City of Miami property taxes make up $650 million, right, of the total general fund. It's 52%. Now, we're only talking about property taxes for homesteaded properties, which, if we pull that up, this is from 2024, so just a year off. That's the red thing here, the orange red. Homestead residential, that's 26%. So 26% of 53% is roughly 14%. So that's the chunk that we have to make up. And it's like $160 million gap. It's not a lot of money. So if we go back to the budget, where the money goes, okay, let's see where we can take the money out of. Oh, and Peter, employee benefits. Why don't we just cut half the benefits to Miami City employees?
Yeah, go ahead.
Easy. Half of them. Just cut it out. Wages, salary, 589 million. They don't need to make that much money. Just take it out. I mean,
Gone.
the point is that it's not just a foo gap. It's a tremendous amount of money. And they can say all they want about Doge and this and that. It ain't gonna work, because if we are a growing city, I think everyone can agree we're a growing city. We're trying to attract people. We're trying to be awesome and awesome. We need infrastructure. We need public transit. We need affordable housing. We need places for doctors, nurses, policemen, firemen. We need places for them to live. And that all takes money from the municipality. Those are investments by the taxpayer to the city so that they can administer these funds. And that's my soapbox rant of the first
That's
10
the
minutes
rub
of the
right
show.
there, though. That is the rub right there. What you
What's
just
the
hit on.
rub?
The rub is, like you said, you got to generate the cash for the cities and the other bodies so they can go ahead and administer. This is ultimately what it comes down to, in my opinion. This is about stripping away the local power, putting it in the hands of Tallahassee, and having Tallahassee decide, you've been good, you support my political strategies, I'm therefore going to give you cash, and you haven't been good, therefore we're going to have to question you about some of that
It
stuff.
totally strips the power away. And we talked a bit about SB 180 last week.
Yes.
About the UDB.
The
Bal Harbour
mangroves and everything else. Yep.
Yeah, Bal Harbour has joined the lawsuit suing against the state. I mean, so it's not just Homestead and Pinecrest and all these far out there. Bal Harbour, that's like the middle of a property tax growth appreciation in the last several years. So everybody is pissed off about this, and it goes right in line with what you're saying, Pete. It's removing power from the most local level and putting it back up into Tallahassee.
Now, can I pile on here?
Pile away.
Okay. I just want to throw this out as a tidbit. By the way, if you eliminated Homestead and all these people who bought houses back in 1990 and they paid 125 grand and they're now worth $1 million, if you were to price them at what the current value is, you'd probably make up a shortfall. I'm just saying.
There have been, look, there's going to be a million ways to skin this cat.
Yep.
There was a proposal to bring it up. Like the minimum baseline would be the median household value, right? So if you had a condo, the lowest basis you could possibly pay, even if you've owned it for forever, they would reset it from $30,000 to $420,000. And yeah, like it's going to sting a lot of people, but it would make up a significant shortfall.
It would also lead to those people who bought their places a long time ago, and they're simply staying there. They don't need the room. They're staying there because to go anywhere else would be much more expensive. So it basically would clean out the market. But that's not the point I want to make. The point I want to make is everybody who's asked about property taxes, Daniel, they say what you say. And what am I basing this on? I'm basing this on, I listen to WLRN, it's the NPR affiliate. They always do a program on Friday. They have call-ins. Every time property taxes come up, people say what you say, Daniel. They say, I don't mind paying the property tax. I know what the money's going for. What I mind paying is my insurance. The insurance is the issue.
But the insurance is private market.
But that's the issue that comes down to it. But let me tell you, we just did a series of reports over the course of the last 2 weeks. Came out of First Service Residential, very large property management company. They came out and they broke down throughout North America, 17 markets. What do condo associations on average pay for various services? And I can tell you, Miami-Dade County is about $1.15 a square foot per month in terms of the monthly maintenance. That's the average. Fort Lauderdale's coming in at $1.02. But what's interesting is when you look at the insurance, the amount of insurance in Fort Lauderdale, 25% of your maintenance fees go towards insurance. What about in Miami? 20%. What about Tampa? 20%. What is it throughout the rest of the country? About 10, 11. Some places, 2%, 1%, like Las Vegas. So I'm just saying the amount of money we allocate.
Not a lot of hurricanes in Las Vegas, though.
which is true. But I'm saying if you deal with if you're worried about condos and maintenance fees, get the insurance under control, and then suddenly maintenance fees will come down dramatically. In Fort Lauderdale, 25%.
Look, the insurance is the private market, is the free market response to it. I mean, we want to live in pro-business Florida. Well, it's just what the market has determined. Insurance companies are in the business of losing cash. They have deemed Florida as a risk And it is risky. You saw what happened in Jamaica right now. Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah.
All it takes
Well,
is,
I mean,
a few days for a storm to form, and there's nothing you can do about it. What are you going to do? You can't do anything.
so why don't we create a national insurance fund? Why don't we do something like flood insurance?
National?
Great.
We can't even herd the cats in Tallahassee. National
We
insurance fund.
we have flood insurance. There's a certain
We
program.
do have national flood insurance, but the government shut down and it lapsed.
But why couldn't you have a natural disaster insurance fund? Whether it dealt with fires out in California, it dealt with hurricanes all up around the East Coast. It dealt with any of these other issues.
All that funding has been gutted, man.
But
look, I don't think it's an awful idea.
Well, the president wants housing to go, and one of the biggest things to overcome with housing, besides the mortgage rates, which by the way, Daniel, is interest rates. Old man Powell, Jerome Powell, central banker, ain't cutting rates. And what are mortgages doing? They're going. Why? There's a lot.
We're going to talk about that in a minute. We're going to talk about that in a minute.
Sorry to go on my tangent.
All right, but let's move on. We're over time anyway. Buy, sell, hold on our property taxes the worst.
That being the worst, I'm a pound the table, flip over the table, buy that they're the worst.
My property taxes, I think they're perfectly cool. And we disagree.
You're an owner.
And that's all right. I know.